Hi there, welcome to today's vlog. Ryan Barber asked me this question. He asked me, Dan, how are you getting on with the Syos Mouthpiece after a few months of playing it now? Well, Ryan and everybody else, I have to say, if you haven't watched my review of this mouthpiece, the Syos tenor mouthpiece, and you know, watch the tenor shootout as well, this is now my mouthpiece. This is my main mouthpiece. I've been playing it on all these gigs that have taken place recently. Thank you to the photographers noted in the credits there for those photographs. But yeah, it really is my mouthpiece, primarily because it's so free-blowing. Intonation is completely impeccable on it. It's so easy to play in tune. The projection's there, the sound's there. It's just everything you would want in a mouthpiece, and I've been so happy with it that I have asked Syos to make me an alto, and there's my alto, and a soprano mouthpiece. And this soprano mouthpiece is what we're going to be talking about today. This soprano mouthpiece is made by Syos. This is the description of it from Syos. This is what they've taken into account when making it. This was the mouthpiece I had before. This is a vintage Selmer Soloist. I'm trying to look, it's that old you can barely see. It's a C double star vintage Selmer Soloist mouthpiece. I like the vintage ones versus the new ones because I really like the thin tips that you get on them. If you contrast that thin tip on there to this Syos one, maybe that's coming through, maybe you can't quite see it, I'll do it on a bit of B-roll for you. I've got to handle my mouthpieces carefully. Now I asked Syos to make me a mouthpiece that kind of was like the Selmer Soloist, so I want all the qualities the Selmer Soloist had, that centeredness of tone, kind of the way I was getting my tone. I like a darker tone on soprano. I like my soprano to get closer to a clarinet, and the difficulty was I tend to play clarinet reeds on soprano, something Branford Marsalis taught me to do, but this mouthpiece at the moment responds better with soprano reeds on, I have found, than with clarinet reeds. One thing I wanted to say about this mouthpiece, I got it kind of a few weeks ago. I took it out on a gig, put it on the soprano, played something, and one of the musicians I worked with went, "Oh wow, Dan, that sounds absolutely gorgeous." So when other musicians are noticing the quality of what you've done and what you're playing in terms of the mouthpiece, the kind of the projection that was the big thing with this mouthpiece, you kind of sort of sit and take note and go, "Oh gosh, if other musicians are noticing how much difference this is making to my playing, that's got to be a positive thing." mouthpiece is incredibly free-blowing, and I'll talk to you more about it later, but I've just gone to make a cup of tea, and it should be a federal crime in England for this, but I've run out of milk, so I need milk. You cannot drink tea without milk. It's very uncivilized, as they say in the film The Great Escape.
I'm afraid this tea is pathetic. Must have used these wretched leaves about 20 times. It's not that I mind so much. Tea without milk is so uncivilized.
So I was just working there with my student Simon on some transcription projects that he's been looking at, particularly the Sonny Rollins Three Little Words. In fact, if you can spot what this is. I'm convinced it's some kind of old standard that I've kind of lodged somewhere in the brain. Maybe Sonny's just playing something very simple, but it definitely sounds to me like an old standard of some kind. One of those really old sort of show tunes or folk tunes that is in my memory somewhere, but I can't remember what it is. I'm sure someone on YouTube might know it, so hit the comment box if you think you know it. One of the things we were doing there was recording Simon playing. We put Sonny Rollins in one stereo speaker. I might as well do that when my head won't move too far. But Sonny Rollins goes in one side, you put yourself in the other side, and then you can really listen, you can really compare and contrast what you're doing versus what Sonny's doing or whoever you are transcribing. It's a great way of really getting in to hear what you're doing and how close you are to the actual real transcription. Anyway, to finish with today, I just want to go with some final remarks on this mouthpiece. It's incredibly free-blowing, which is what I love. It's kind of what I was getting with my Selma Soloist, but it's given it a bit more power, a bit more, I'm trying to think, guts to the sound that it didn't have before. It certainly cuts through a lot more. The intonation is pretty flawless. I mean, the big thing on soprano mouthpieces is trying to get the things in tune. This is not as easy to get in tune as the Selma Soloist, but then I've been playing that Selma Soloist for 10 years. I mean, I've only been playing this for about 10-15 days, so give it some time for me to get used to it. You'll no doubt ask about the details of it. They are listed below in the equipment link, but just very quickly, this is what I asked for. So it's got a semi-circular baffle with a medium chamber, and the tip opening is 0.50 inches, which is the same as the Selma C double star. It's a fantastic mouthpiece. I'm going to review the alto mouthpiece next week, so make sure you're subscribing. Check out my last vlog here. This is what I was up to. Well, actually, do you know what? This time last year I wasn't really up to anything because the vlog had stopped. So here's a random video here. Make sure, as I said before, subscribe. It'll be great. I'll see you next week with a review of that and lots of other things. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.